This isn't just a story about politics. This is a story about power, raw, unfiltered, and relentless. A story where the stakes are higher than headlines, where alliances shift in shadows, and where the truth is often buried beneath layers of strategy, fear, and ambition. Fight. Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House is not just a chronicle of an election. It is a detailed, moment-by-moment dissection of one of the most chaotic, controversial, and consequential battles ever waged in American democracy. At the center of this storm stands a sitting president, unyielding, defiant, and determined to return to power, no matter what it takes. Opposite him, a former vice president who never sought to be a warrior, but found himself thrust into one of the most vicious political wars of our time. Around them, a battlefield littered with operatives, advisors, media storms, internal sabotage, public pressure, and the ever-widening divide of a nation. This book peels back the curtains of political theater and shows us what really goes on in the war rooms, the sleepless nights, the backdoor deals, the emotional toll, and the constant recalibration of strategy. It shows us not just the headlines, but the machinery behind them. The chaos wasn't limited to debates and press conferences. It was in the text messages, the infighting, the debates over debate prep, the walkouts, the leaked documents, the moral compromises. It was in the moments we never saw. Every campaign has its arc, the rise, the stumble, the recovery, the climax. But this one? It had no predictable path. It veered into unknown territory almost every week. With the pandemic reshaping how elections are run, with misinformation rising like a tide, and with trust in institutions crumbling, this was not a normal campaign. This was survival. Through intimate portraits of key players, from campaign managers to family members, political veterans to last-minute hires, the narrative shows how personal this battle really was. It wasn't just a competition of policies, it was a war of values. And it wasn't fought just in the streets or on TV, it was fought in quiet corners, tense phone calls, secret meetings, and late-night breakdowns. The writing doesn't glorify any side. Instead, it shows the human side of political combat, the exhaustion, the miscalculations, the betrayals, the moments of hope, and the sheer will to win. It portrays characters not as heroes or villains, but as individuals caught in a machine far bigger than themselves. Some rose to the moment, others collapsed under its weight, and in the background, always, is America itself, fractured, confused, angry, and yearning for clarity. This book doesn't try to provide easy answers. It presents the complexity, the noise, the nuance. It invites the reader to witness the madness, not as a spectator, but as someone standing inside the eye of the storm. As the campaign narrows to its final stretch, the pressure mounts. Polls tighten, accusations fly, the media spins. But in the rooms where real decisions are made, silence often says more than speeches. The book captures those silences, the tension before a tweet, the anxiety before a speech, the disbelief after a misstep. Because in this kind of fight, one wrong move can collapse months of work, and one perfectly timed message can shift the tide. This isn't history told in hindsight. This is history caught in motion. Fight is about more than an election. It's about how fragile democracy can feel when power is at stake, and how deeply human the people are behind the polished images we see. It is a mirror to our present moment, messy, uncertain, and unresolved. And even after the results are in, the story isn't over. Because what happens after the votes are counted is just as critical. The aftermath, the denial, the acceptance, the legacy. That's where the real test begins. Not just for the candidates, but for the country. This fight may be over, but the war for truth, power, and history has only just begun.